We have arrived at episode number 800. How about that?
It's more than 800. We picked up. Anyway, we lost some in the transition, but we'll say 800. Okay?
But it says number 800 at the top of my notes.
You want me to go back and tell you where we did away with podcasts when Kevin came?
I want you to go back and count them all to make sure we have an exact number. Our audience is demanding this.
Yeah, they really care.
We have a special episode because we have Benjamin Watson with us. We're going to be interviewing him about his book. Welcome to the show, Benjamin.
Hey guys, great to be with you. 800 episodes, actually 800 plus episodes is what I'm gathering. That's incredible.
I think it's well over 1,000, but we're not going to get into bragging rights here, especially for a guy who played for the University of Georgia, then played pro ball. We're not going to have many bragging rights here.
Oh, no, I don't want to get into a game of one-upsmanship with Benjamin because he will absolutely crush me.
Yes.
But he does have a new book out. We certainly want to tell you about that. The New Fight for Life, Roe, Race, and a Pro-Life Commitment to Justice. Man, what a book. Yes, Benjamin did play for the NFL, but he now serves as Vice President of Strategic Relationships with Human Coalition, a pro-life organization based in Dallas. Benjamin, we are very thankful to have you on the show.
It is quite an honor, and I appreciate what you guys do for churches, equipping leaders, challenging folks, and really, even on this topic of life, delving into what unfortunately is a quote unquote political issue and a tough issue to talk about for so many people in so many circles. It's one of those things that I think shouldn't be that way. As people who honor human dignity and sanctity of life. I mean, it shouldn't be in those realms, but in the world we live in, this can be a very tough topic to talk about. But it has to be done. Lives depend on it.
Well, I'm glad we have you here to talk about that. We'll get to your book here in just a moment, but we have another book about life that we want to introduce. It's called The Life Application Study Bible by Tyndale, who also published your book. So this is the number one study Bible that you can get. It will help you better understand the text, connect spiritual truths, and know how to apply them to everyday experiences. What makes this Bible such a complete and life-changing resource? Well, it begins with the unique character of its study notes, which include the information necessary to help you understand the passage and the truth that is being taught. Not only the information, but an explanation of how the truth is relevant today, and information, explanation, and application to your personal situation. With Bible study and application in one place, it provides you what you need to apply biblical teaching to everyday life. Again, this is the Life Application Study Bible published by Tyndale with the New Living Translation, which is an excellent translation, our preferred translation at Rainer on Leadership.
Absolutely.
All right, Benjamin, let's dive into this. We love asking authors this question. What prompted you to write this book? What is it about the culture that made this such an urgent project?
Well, much of it was reading that Life Application Bible, to be honest with you.
Really?
And realizing that, especially as believers, we have a mandate to shine light into the culture and to share the totality of God's word. Even the parts that are tough for us to talk about and may not be popular as ambassadors, that's our role. People ask, why would I write this book? And honestly, I didn't want to write this book. These aren't the types of conversations that you want to have anywhere, in your workplace, the water cooler, the locker room, in your family. But I do think that they need to be had, and especially in light of Roe v. Wade being overturned last year and some of the buildup and the fallout from that. The conversation around abortion is in the news, and specifically with this book, I really wanted to look at it from a different perspective, the perspective of justice. Many times when people ask why I'm involved with an organization like Human Coalition, I talk about the issue of justice, whether that's in sex trafficking, whether we're talking about criminal justice, whether we're talking about racial justice. These are all issues about human flourishing and about bringing society back into reconciliation and the peace that God will have for us. And there is no greater, in my opinion, form of injustice in this fight for justice than protecting the most vulnerable, that being the child in the womb, but also advocating for mom. Being both pro-woman and pro-child is something that I think is a bit different in the very bifurcated way that we speak about this issue. We should be caring for both.
Say, early in the book, Benjamin, you called up you to address the elephant in the room. So let's address the elephant in the room on the Rain on Leadership podcast and tell us what we should know about it.
Well, the elephant in the room that I'm speaking of is something that you both may have encountered, and many of your listeners have encountered, who are men speaking about this issue. There is a prevailing narrative that men have no role in this. Why should a man be talking about the issue of abortion? You don't have a uterus. You shouldn't be talking about this. And so I kind of addressed that early because it is quite odd, I would say, for a man, although I am a father of 7 and, a former professional athlete, to be talking about this. I truly believe, though, outside of the science, that there's 46 chromosomes, 23 and 23. So men have a role in this. Men determine so much of or influence a woman's decision when it comes to getting an abortion. At Human Coalition, we found that 76% of abortion-determined women would prefer to parent if their circumstances were different.
That blows my mind. 3/4 of them would prefer to parent.
And so while the narrative is women are using this as birth control and they don't care, while there are some men and women who feel that way about life in the womb, there are many women and men who, if their circumstances were different, they would rather parent. Now, what are those circumstances? The number one, obviously, for a woman, it has to do with a relationship with the father. And so as a man, I think it's imperative that we as men speak about this issue from a place of compassion and not understanding what it's like to be a woman at all. But in many ways, we challenge other men when it comes to loving and caring for the women who are bearing our children. And also when it comes to the rest of those issues, whether they be housing many times or finances or maybe already having a child and needing childcare. Men have a supreme ability and responsibility, I believe, to advocate for women to have those things to help them carry to term.
Wow. Well, before Sam gets to the next question, ages of your children, Benjamin.
All right, you ready? The oldest is 14. The daughter
Yes.
is 14. So we're 14-year-old girl, 12-year-old girl, 11 and 10-year-old boys, 7-year-old girl, 3-year-old boy, and 3-year-old boy. Yes.
Wow.
Identical twin boys to finish it off. I call them Typhoon and Tornado because their real names are Asher and Levi, but I call them Typhoon and Tornado because they be tearing everything up in the house. They'll be 4 years old in a few weeks here.
That is absolutely.
So I'm glad I did not get in a game of one-upsmanship with Benjamin because I thought I had a big family. So we have 4, and then we foster as well. So, okay. But the pattern is similar. We had 2 girls, then we had 2 boys.
Okay.
And then we have a foster daughter that we're involved in her life as well. So,
baby girl. That baby
4,
girl.
Yeah, 4, sometimes 5 for us, but 7. Just don't tell my wife, Benjamin, if we're ever hanging out. Don't, because she'll look at me and she say we can do a couple more. So
go ahead, man. Hey, this is not in football. Obviously, in sports, you're always trying to win the championship. But honestly, in this, you can have it. Go for it, buddy. If you want to set the record, go for the record, my friend. Go for the record.
Oh, I love my grandkids. There's enough of them. I love them though.
You have a lot of them.
I have 3. I have 3 sons who've given me 11 so far. So it's been.
Oh wow.
It has been a total joy, and I love it when I go to Bradenton and see my 2 grandgirls and my 2 grandsons. And Sam's the only one of my sons that has an adopted child, so that's been a great experience for me to have a grandson that is adopted as well as those of the biological children as well.
Yeah, well, adoption is a huge piece, and I even touch on that in the book a bit.
You do,
a lot of. From an adoption standpoint, and Sam, you can speak to this better than I can as you've adopted. But, many times when it comes to the issue of abortion, we think about it and how can the church or how can individuals be involved? And while it's not a calling for everyone to adopt, I know several people who have said, you know what, this might be a way for us to lean in as a church body or as an individual family when it comes to protecting life. The narrative, and I think I can say this here, is that people who are, people of faith, believers, and those who could call themselves pro-life, the narrative is that, no, you're just pro-birth. Now we know that is not 100% true. There are some people like that for sure. But we know that's not 100% true. But one of the ways that, we found that we can protect life and we can serve women is by championing adoption when it makes sense.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you there. It's part of what I live with my life. It's the heartbeat of my church. We have a boatload of foster kids and adopted children at our church, and we love them. And it's that stance that life is important to us, and women are important. The family is important to us. So I'm certainly with you there, Benjamin. Again, we're talking to Benjamin Watson, the author of the book, The New Fight for Life, Roe, Race, and a Pro-Life Commitment to Justice. I know after this interview, all of you are going to want to go get this book because it is phenomenal. So go pick it up. But I've got another question for you, Benjamin, and I'm going to dig in a little bit. We've got this Supreme Court ruling, Roe versus, basically the reversal of Roe versus Wade. What now? Why is the concept of justice rarely mentioned in conjunction with pro-life, pro-choice, and the whole debate? So what do you say about this? What do we do now?
Yeah, what now? I remember when I heard that Roe was overturned, and if you can remember, for those listening, it was kind of a shock for me, but it was also kind of affirmation because we had heard that there was a leak, that this might be possible. But you were still waiting on pins and needles to see if it was actually going to happen. And I was truly surprised. And I started thinking about all the people over the last 50 years that in different realms have fought for this. And then the question is, okay, now what? And I think that a lot of people that call themselves pro-life and have even been fighting in different ways for life felt like, okay, now what? Is the fight over? And what we've seen is a lot of people have felt like the fight is over. They don't understand that Roe v. Wade being overturned simply sent the issue back to the states. It didn't outlaw abortion. As a matter of fact, abortion is still legal in about 72 to 75% of the country, even now, with Roe overturned. So it becomes a state issue. So the fight still continues. And also the drivers, the issues that women are facing did not go away because Roe v. Wade was overturned. Mm-hmm. And so the driving factors are there, many of them systemic. They're still there. The issue goes back to the states. And as you've seen, there's a state by state, this patchwork of laws happening right now. So this is still very much an important issue. And part of the reason why I call it the new fight for life is I believe that there's a great opportunity for the pro-life movement to be a bridge instead of being a combatant in a culture war. We have an opportunity to focus on justice and what I mean by justice, because everybody has their own idea of justice. What I'm talking about when I say justice is repairing and fixing that which has gone so wrong in our country. And I focus a lot of the book on the disproportionate recipients of abortions, which are Black women. Statistics show us that Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely than their white counterparts to have abortions. And so much of my book, when I talk about race, we cannot have this conversation about abortion and Roe without talking about race, because it impacts Black communities so much more and so much disproportionately than other communities. And so I say, why and how do we fix that? Well, we have to look at issues of injustice, whether they are in employment, whether it's historical injustice, when we talk about redlining and we talk about generational wealth and we talk about a criminal legal system that we see over and over again. And studies have shown that those who are Black who do the same crimes as their white counterparts get longer sentences. How does that factor into the issue of abortion? Because everything is a connected web. And so when I reimagine this new fight for life, and what I want to encourage the pro-life community to do is say, okay, how do we fix and turn off the faucet for abortion? Desmond Tutu once said, it's one thing to pull people out of the river. It's another thing to go upstream and figure out why they're falling in. And in this country, we have an opportunity as a pro-life movement for those who aren't in the movement to see how much we care about people and the injustice that they faced as communities systemically and presently. And I believe that draws people in. Many times people don't really care about what we say about life because they have an idea that we don't care about people. And when we focus on justice, we can bring people into this with an understanding that, hey, we're a pro-life. Yeah, we care about the child in the womb. Yeah, we care about the mom. But, we also want to bring people into a place where they can flourish on their own in places when they haven't.
Wow. We have been talking with Benjamin Watson. As Sam indicated, he's author of the upcoming book, The New Fight for Life, Roe, Race, and a Pro-Life Commitment to Justice. The book will be released June 22nd. We want to get 5 books available to our listening audience. So if you're listening to this podcast, there's no way that you're going to know about this unless you're listening to this podcast. For those of you listening to the podcast, I'll get it out of the subjunctive. For those of you
they
listening,
might be viewing on YouTube.
Are viewing on YouTube. We have 5 copies available, and you just simply write Matthew, that's Matthew, at churchanswers.com, and say, I want the book, The New Fight for Life, and he'll do a first come, first serve to the first 5 who do so. Let's wrap it up with this, Benjamin. I think I could continue this conversation for several hours, but we'll keep it within the allotted time. I think you've answered a lot of this, and there's a word that you used in your in Sam's previous question, where you used the word bridge, and I love that metaphor to be a bridge in this conversation instead of a barrier. Anything else that you want to say about responding graciously to the pro-choice argument or the argument that is for abortion when they say this should be entirely a women's issue, that you, I, or any male does not have a right to, or right's not the right word, but we should not enter into the conversation. So anything you want to add to that so that you can let people like me know how to be more gracious in the process?
Yeah, there's some wisdom that comes along with that and some graciousness. I'll say this. Someone once told me that we shouldn't judge either side by their loudest activist.
Oh, that's good.
Because in our society and the way, in our generation, it's social media. That's what, people use. But it's always been something. But that's how we many times judge people, by cable news and social media in 20-second clips. And those clips usually don't represent the heart of others within either movement. I was at the Supreme Court for not when Roe v. Wade was overturned, but there was another case before that. There was a lot of protesters out there, and I ran into these 3 young ladies from NARAL, which is a pro-abortion group, and we just started talking. And they knew I was with a pro-life group, and but we engaged in conversation. It was non-combative, and I was able to hear some of the reasons why they felt that abortion should be right. And we left not agreeing, but I think there was a level of respect that I saw the humanity in them. And I think that we need to, all of us, see the humanity in people that we disagree with vehemently. Because if we're going to say we care about the dignity of the child in the womb, we must care about the dignity of a person that's standing across from us that doesn't agree with us. They're still human beings. So how we speak about those people, and even in our churches, we take it out of, just the general and talk about our churches. 4 in 10 women within the church, about 4 in 10 women have had abortions. And so I think, well, there's probably about 4 in 10 men who have been impacted as well. So how are we from a church perspective speaking about this issue, number one, and speaking about those who maybe have had abortions in the past, but are seeking that reconciliation and seeking for God to be able to use them in a powerful way out of their pain? So there's so much, but I'll just encapsulate it by just saying people respond many times when we listen to them and listen to their reasons and don't assume you know why they believe what they believe. That will take us a long way, especially when we're talking about issues of race and issues of abortion and issues of justice.
Wow.
That's worth the podcast right there. What a great piece of advice. Don't judge a movement or a belief system by its loudest, extremes. That's gold, man.
Yeah.
That's worth more than anything you and I have ever said, Sam.
I think that maybe
somebody told me, so I can't even claim
that may be the most profound thing that has ever been said on Rainer on Leadership. That was great.
On episode number 800 or so.
Ish, 800-ish. I'm only going by what's in the notes.
1001.
There you go. Benjamin, it's been a joy to have you on this podcast. Thank you for giving your time. We are Tyndale authors as well, so we're glad to know another person who's in this family with Tyndale Publishers, and we are just grateful for your ministry, grateful for your life, grateful for your graciousness. It just oozes through both the video and the audio. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the time. God bless.
Well, as always, we want to thank our other sponsor, and we're just going to let you wait just a second because we got some exciting news that's about to come up. So stay tuned, and we will see you in the next episode, 801, 802 of Rainer on Leadership. An incredible thing happened when Church Answers University offered some scholarships through this podcast. We got a lot of requests for the scholarships. And so what happened is the first several of them were grabbed up quickly. We went back to the donor, and the donor said, I'll do at least one more. So we did one more, and one more person got the scholarship. Well, why am I saying that? The donors come back, and the donor, she is offering us 5 more scholarships. Now, what does that mean? Church Answers University is your alternative for ministry training, for theological training, for those who could not go to a seminary or maybe to a Bible college. And it's being used by lay persons who are coming on staff with churches. It's being used by bivocational pastors. It's even being used by 50 students in Uganda who do not have training otherwise. It is an incredibly fast growing, but even more than the growth is the ministry impact that it's having. So we're delighted that Church Answers University is our sponsor and that they are offering 5 more scholarships, 50% each. Now, what that means is full tuition is $1,497 to be exact. And what that means is you're getting it for under $750, all 10 courses, all the books complete because of the generosity of a donor. We're delighted that Church Answers University is the sponsor of Rainer on Leadership, and we're delighted to offer these on a first-come, first-served basis. What do? You write Matt, M-A-T-T, at churchanswers.com. Matt, M-A-T-T, at churchanswers.com. If you want to find out about Church Answers University, you can go to churchanswers.university. But if you're interested in a scholarship, write Matt at churchanswers.com. First come, first serve. We're delighted to have this ministry, and I know it can make a difference in your life, your ministry, and your church. Hey, folks, this is a PS to our podcast. We got some exciting stuff that we want to offer you absolutely for free. Sam, when you think about predictive factors in a church's growth, if you take out demographics, what are some things that come to mind? Just 2. I mean, don't give me a list of 10. Just 2 or 3 things that come to mind on predictive growth of a church.
Well, evangelism and whether the church is doing it or not.
Bingo.
And then I will add, is it an ongoing evangelism emphasis?
Double bingo. Well. Maybe something about leadership and their commitment to that. So all of the above.
Evangelistic churches have evangelistic pastors. Is the staff, is the lead pastor doing the work themselves?
We have a free download for you, and it's actually a sheet that you can self-score. You answer 20 questions, anywhere from strongly disagree to strongly agree, and we come back and we predict what your growth rate is going to be for the next year in worship attendance. It's not a perfect tool, but it's a good tool. There's a link to that for the attendance predictor. Look in the show notes. You'll absolutely love it. That's cool. We'll see you soon.